What's up, everybody? How's it going? We're back. Season 4, Episode 1, The Last Wave Podcast. If you're new here, it feels weird saying this again. If you're new here, we deal with topics like ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, conspiracies, the paranormal, realistically everything under the paranormal umbrella. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me today. I hope everything sounds good with the audio. We're trying some different microphones out for the new season and just seeing what happens. So I've been wanting to do this episode for a while. I actually tried to record it months ago with our regular co-host Buster. I'm running solo today, but we will have more co-hosts throughout the season. And we tried to do this episode. We did it. It was like an hour long, and we found out the audio didn't work. So we never got to upload it. And then, life got a hold of us, different projects and stuff. So if you're seeing this, that means it's either going to be one of the last videos on the Last Wave podcast channel itself, or welcome, you're on Last Wave Games and Podcasts. That's another thing that I've noticed over the last number of years trying to do all this is we're a little bit too spread out. So we're going to try to combine everything we do here at Last Wave. And if you've been around for a while, it's quite a lot. We do event sales. We do this podcast. We do Last Wave Games. We just included Word Dealers or Weird Dealers. And that is our D&D. It's on Last Wave Games and Podcast channel. So we do a lot. We're going to be adding some tabletop games to that as well. But yeah, we get into too much. So now we're trying to combine it, bring everything together for a better experience. So everything we do, you'll be able to find in one place on one channel. And it'll be good times. Now, all of our back catalog and probably some other small videos here and there are going to remain on the Last Wave Podcast actual channel. But, again, like I just said, want to move everything to the original one. So if you want to hear any of our old stuff, or if you just want to go back and use some of our episodes for research projects, that kind of stuff, feel free to do that. We're going to leave it up. And you can always find it there for as long as they let us keep it up. So let's see. It's a little bit more housekeeping. So I also learned through experience that certain things on YouTube and other places nowadays we can't talk about. And I learned that because some of my old videos from 2020, 2021 got removed. So, and were removed a year or two after they were made. So, again, we learned some lessons. It sucks that we have to be that way here in this country, but it's just how it is nowadays. You can't say certain things or you'll get taken off the internet, more or less. So, that's pretty much for all the housekeeping. I want to give a real quick, super, super thankful shout out to some of our sponsors. As most of you know, we are based in the Hickory, North Carolina area. We've got the Kava Bar, which has 3 locations. You can see a lot of their stuff on our Facebook page. We've got the Spot Toys and Comic Books, where we film most of our gaming or tabletop gaming stuff and card stuff. Great place. Let's see, Kava Bar, the Spot. We're doing a lot of work with Ring of Fire Wrestling, which is also a local indie company. Really great people, a lot of great young talent. You can see some of that stuff on our YouTube Shorts, our TikTok, Facebook. Quick shout out to a small little place in Newton, North Carolina, called Emporium 23. Honestly, an amazingly beautiful shop, an amazing owner. And they have helped us out in the past with community events. They've recently donated to another benefit event that we're having in June. So super, super nice with them. And just so thankful to be able to market for these people and market for like things and places that I believe in and that have helped me and the community. So again, thank you to everybody who listens, who helps us out with what we do, and just know that we appreciate it. So it is only a couple people that run what we do. Mainly myself, Buster, um, my cousin Jackson, who also helps out on the show sometimes, but mainly does our event sales and things like that. But anyway, enough of that. Enough housekeeping. Let's get into this episode and let's see what we can discuss today. Because I have a very interesting topic. And I don't know how this is going to go over with some people. This is probably going to be a lot of people that are just like, "What in the world are you talking about? You're insane." But I've heard that. I've heard that before on this podcast. So we're gonna get right into it and let's see what happens. So our history, our history as human beings. Personally, I feel that there has been numerous epochs or eras of human history. Again, uh, numerous times do I think that humans have existed on this planet. Um, Mainly just because references we have in history. You look at biblical history, the pre-Diluvian times before the flood, where you had all kinds of different types of people. You had giants and beasts and random creatures and things of that nature. You have obviously we're finding new evidence every day for what's the word for artifacts and places that are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 years old. Much older than the few thousand years of recorded history. Um, we also have, of course, tales of Atlantis, other religions around the world that were going, you know, thousands and thousands of years into the past. And I bring up Atlantis, of course, because that was supposed to be in our ancient past. And it was a very technologically advanced city. Um, there was so much vibrant life and everything. And we also have places like in South America where we have these massive cities made out of stone and everything, and then they were supposedly housing hundreds of thousands or millions of people. But today it's just overgrown jungle. So it really leads one to believe that much more than just the last handful thousand of years of recorded allegedly recorded history, that there's got to be more, right? So that is where both sides of me and my interests come into play. So I'm a real big fantasy and um, sci-fi guy. So I'm also really big at history and ancient knowledge and conspiracies and things of that nature. So today I'm going to work on combining the two of those, and I'm going to introduce you, if you don't know what it is, to the Warhammer 40K universe. Now, Warhammer 40K was created allegedly in the 80s. Um, it's now grown to be, a multi-million dollar franchise all around the world. It's books, media, movies, games, figures. Tabletop gaming is the most popular part of it, where you buy little figures and you wage war. And these little figures, these armies, can cost thousands of dollars. Big money for a hobby, if you will. And you basically recreate wars between what you see on the screen now as Space Marines and different types of aliens or evil Space Marines, that kind of thing. So that's the gist of it, right? Now, I'm a huge fan of the lore of Warhammer 40K. And the Warhammer 40K is supposedly us, but 40,000 years, or, technically 39,000 years or whatever in the future. That's our distant future, okay? But what if, what if, and again, this is where it gets crazy. What if Warhammer 40K is our ancient past. Okay? And like again, I don't even know how to preface this. I can honestly make this a 2 or 3 part episode, and I may probably make it a multiple part episode for at least when I have one of my other co-hosts here and get their opinion on it, just when I present the evidence. And please do comment down below. Tell me if I'm completely wrong or if I'm completely crazy with this, but just hear me out till the end, okay? So again, Warhammer 40K is supposedly our ancient, or no, it's our far future. But what if it's our ancient past? And when I bring that up because if you look at the lore and the books written within the 40K universe, you will see that it is the most extensive literary work that I know of in human history. Um, Aside from like maybe encyclopedias or something of that nature, something insane of that nature that's just for description. It has to be the biggest creative literary work in human history. And so the series that I'm working on, the main bulk of the story for Warhammer 40K is called the Horus Heresy. Okay. It is currently, I think it's like 65 books, 62, 65, somewhere around there, and I'm on book 30. And these are not small, when I say book and you think biblical terms, you think, well, it's a handful of pages. No, these are all 1 inch, 2 inches thick, heavily worded, beautifully written. I mean, elegantly, just the wording is insane. If you've never heard of it, never read it, I definitely encourage you to. The good thing about it is if you hear something in the book that you don't know what it is, you can look it up online because there's like 1,000 people that have done art of even the smallest chapter of Marines or the rarest type of alien that they encounter. It is just so immense with the lore that there are hours long YouTube videos just describing the gods and certain things um, about uh, Warhammer 40K. So again, look into it. I'm pretty sure it's the most extensive work of this type in human history. But what if it's not all a work? What if this is somehow, and this is where it gets, a little bit weird. What if somehow this was knowledge that was either passed down or something of that nature, something that was saved, and this is a way to get it out to the masses? And I feel so strongly about this that it's either that Warhammer, because this is what's cool about Warhammer 40K. Okay, any modern fantasy movie you watch, and it could very well just be some extremely good writers and extremely intelligent people pulling from all of the best ideas of what a sci-fi fantasy, even every genre. I mean, honestly, there's comedy, there's horror, there's gore, there's action, combat, obviously war, fantasy. It's every genre mixed together. And you would have to pull the greatest things from every single one of those genres. I'm not even joking. If you read through the Horus Heresy and you don't think it's like a historic modern epic, then I don't even know what to tell you. I mean, it's one of the greatest things ever written. Clearly. Hands down. Uh, I'm a writer and a published author, and I have a hard time keeping a 3 book timeline together. These people are doing 20 years worth of book editing timelines. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Either way, so let me get into something you might recognize. And again, this could be amazing artists pulling from history and pulling from other works of sci-fi like Dune and things of that nature. Certainly could be. But the cool thing about Warhammer 40K is it could literally be almost any universe. Could be 40K. And I say that because one of the cool things that happens is these planets that were originally part of the Empire part of the human empire. For some reasons, or some things happen, they get cut off, uh, which is what I am proposing happened to us here on Earth. Um, I think that we are way past the heresy, and that humankind in the frame of knowledge, if you will, for the Space Marines, the Warhammer 40K, empire, left Earth after a battle, and we had to abandon Earth, or Terra, as it's known in the books. That's my theory. Again, it's definitely a harebrained theory. It's kind of crazy, but just listen. Okay, so I have a feeling that they abandoned Earth, and they may one day come back. They may tell us our true knowledge, and we hear that all the time, right? With ancient alien theory, which is so popular these days. These godlike beings came from another planet. They seeded us. They created us, etc., etc. You even look at historical with um, religious cultures. It's always someone came from the stars to either create us or give us knowledge to help us learn and help us grow as a species. So what if it was us? Atlantis could have been one of the last remaining cities of the old empire. If that is true, then we also have to look at other historical inaccuracies. So let's look at the theory of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. I know this is jumping around a lot. Just bear with me. I'll tie it in a second. So there's a new theory, well, newer theory, as far as I can tell, going around that the 1,000-year reign of Christ has already happened, and that we're living in Satan's short season, or what have you. Um, and if you go back and you start to look at ancient, not even ancient, but the 1800s and times like that, and look at, for instance, look at the Chicago World's Fair in the 1800s. That place looks like an ancient Roman city, and allegedly they built it just for the World's Fair and then tore it all to the ground. There's plenty of cities that have this type of architecture. There's old paintings that show huge buildings and skyscrapers in 1,000 years ago, 600 years ago. It's all over the place. It's all over the internet. Not going to divert into that right now, but it's there if you want to go look for it. I recommend one channel called Mind Unveiled. Great channel, super super interesting topics. Look into their Tartaria and mud flood stuff. Very interesting. So anyway, back to Warhammer 40K. Again, the main series that I'm reading, and that is the main bulk of the lore. And there's other series too. This is not the only one. There's other series that are 10, 12, 15 books. That there's no there are trilogies. I mean, there's definitely some trilogies in the Warhammer lore, but it's mainly like you'll have a 5, a 6, a 10, 60 book series. So again, very very thick lore. All right, so the Horus Heresy, and tell me if you recognize this story, centers around these godlike beings called Space Marines. You can see one right here in the center. This looks to be a Primarch. Probably, oh god, those are Ultramarines. Reboot Gilliman that's probably who that is. Uh, he's the leader. He's what's called a Primarch, which is basically a leader and the leader of a legion. And there's multiple legions. Uh, Again, multiple storylines for every little tiny little group of people in that legion. Uh, they all have their own paint schemes, logos, belief systems, everything. But the main hierarchical group is the Emperor of Mankind, who is a godlike psychic being who is an eternal, which means he basically lives forever. And he created or sired something like 20 sons. and those are the Primarchs. But he used chaos energy when he created them. Now, the chaos is what we would call hell, evil, Satan, dark energy, dark magic, that kind of stuff. It's chaos. It's dark magic. So he used that while creating the sun. So chaos, the beings of chaos came and basically separated the god from his sons and spread them all throughout the universe. And that's how you get some of these planets where all of a sudden these spaceships come in and say, hey, you've actually been part of our civilization the whole time. You even have, a Primarch on your planet, and they will lead our legion. That definitely happens all the time. I've definitely read books where, these superhuman people, much like Hercules, you could say Hercules would be a Primarch. The spaceships come down. They say that, hey, this person is clearly a Primarch. You're part of the Empire. Now you have to be under our rule. And that's just, how it is. So, again, we have the Primarchs, we have the God Emperor, we have the Primarchs, and then we have the Space Marines, and then you have all the Xenos and alien legions and that kind of stuff. So, the Horus Heresy centers around the Emperor's favorite son, and it's centered around the fact that some of the Space Marine legions believe that the Emperor is a god. Now, this far into the future, gods and demons and things like that, they don't exist. They're not, it's all science. There are no gods, etc., etc. Everything's been found out, more or less. So, certain legions claim that the Emperor is God or is a god. Other legions say that he is not. He is just merely, what he says he is, which is an eternal being, but not God. So this drives a wedge in between the brothers, the Primarchs. Now, the Emperor's favored son, named Warmaster, is what he is given a new title, where he basically, the Emperor is going to go sit on his throne and just be a psychic being forever. And the Warmaster is going to direct all of the forces. Now, through dark manipulation and manipulation of chaos, evil weaves its way into the Primarch's mind. Okay? The Warmaster's mind. And turns him against his father. So you have God, or the Emperor, and one of his favored sons turns against him. And other legions of these superhumans join him to attack the Emperor and the Emperor's forces of good, which is a misnomer because in Warhammer 40k there are no good people. That's just like an inside joke. There is no good side because they're all bad in some way. But anyway, you have the Emperor, who is a godlike being, faces his own sons turning against him and falling to chaos. Now, obviously, if you are a Bible reader or if you are a Christian, you know what that sounds like. That sounds like Satan turning or not Satan, but Lucifer, turning to the dark side and going against God and falling down to the forces of evil and chaos. It's literally the exact story. So again, I ask you, did they take reference from that, or did we take reference from that, from this event? And it is such a monumental event. It lasts for thousands of years, these wars and the heresy and the battles that ensue. And it's graphic, it's horrible. Some of it is the most darkest, blood-filled, uh, sex-filled, darkest stuff you can imagine. Just for instance, I'll never forget. There's a spaceship, right? And there's a holographic, basically projector, how they would communicate. So you'd see a form of someone, and one of the good guys, which I believe is Reboot Gilliman or one of the other good Primarchs, or the on the side of the Emperor Primarchs, is speaking through the holographic projector to one of the evil Primarchs. I can't recall who it was, but the form in the projector starts to morph and starts to change, and they order the communication severed. And when they're told that the communications have already been severed, through this holographic form manifests I can't even remember how it was described, but it's some kind of horrifying chaos demon type creature, much like what you're seeing. Like this, I'll describe these later, but I mean, you could tell like horns, teeth. I think it looks like a giant centipede or something like that, if I can remember correctly. With like, I mean, just mouths and hundreds of eyes and really just crazy, horrible things. And it basically, uh, what's the word? It it brings into existence enough blood, like manifests. It manifests so much blood in the cockpit or in the bridge of the spaceship that it just explodes the bridge. Like it fills the bridge up with blood and explodes the bridge. That's what it does. That's the kind of things we're talking about as far as dark beings and entities. Now, getting away from the Horus Heresy, there's a whole lot of other little tidbits, like some of the legions, the Thousand Sons, for instance, are definitely Egyptian themed, with their motifs, their beliefs. Um, Everything about them is Egyptian in form. So this could have even been, you look at ancient Egypt, that could have been the Thousand Sons responsible for that, and this could have been a Thousand Sons planet for all we know. But there was a great war, the war in heaven, so to speak, and the Space Marines lost. And we're now in the throes of chaos for the last however many thousand years on this planet. And if you look at how we're acting these days, and all the things that we do to each other, to unborn children, to children, to elderly, to everything, to wars, to everything we do, is clearly chaos. It's clearly evil. We are, well, not we, are the people that lead most of our countries seem to be in league with something evil or darker. So that's why I assume that we have lost and we're currently under the throes of chaos on Earth. And one day, which we've heard before, if you look at ancient aliens theory, or if you look at the uh, uh, biblical history, uh, history of other religions, where that are saying that these beings are going to come back and save us. That's what we hear all throughout history. Well, they're gonna come back and save us. They're gonna come back and help us and do all this. So this is just another photo that's up now of a Space Marine fighting something called I think it's a Mind Flayer. No, not a Mind Flayer. What am I thinking? Gene Stealer. And they are part human, part Xenos, which is alien race called the Tyranids. Uh, and it's another alien race that exists out there in the universe. And the 40K universe takes place in our universe, it's in our own universe. So it could be places that we haven't explored, places that we don't know about. They could have already known about and told us all about it. Let's see what else we got. This is what I believe is a gray knight, and again you can see the architecture here. Yes, all behind him with the arches and everything. It looks like old architecture from Earth that we were told was just created few hundred years ago. But now it's like we don't build anything like this anymore. So I mean, take that what you will. Again, are we referencing something that happened in our past, or are these people that have created all of these stories referencing our past? This is what it looked like back in the day, back in the early days of the of Warhammer 40K. But even then, you can still see the motifs, the heraldry, Very, very Roman, very medieval. They even carry gladiuses. You see the eagle up here on the flag. The way they speak is very Roman. It's very ancient. Uh, if you've heard, if you listen to the audiobooks, it sounds like you're in like a Roman encampment. I mean, that's the way the audio speakers sound, and that's the way the book is worded. So it's actually quite difficult for to read for people who are not prepared to read that way. This is just an example of some of the machines. This down here in the corner. These are regular sized tanks for that time frame, which those tanks can weigh far more than the tanks now. I mean, these tanks are built for Space Marines, which are an average of 8 to 9, 10 feet tall. So, yeah, if this is a tank, these things are the size of mountains. And that's the type of battles that they have in the Warhammer 40K universe. Literally can have mountains fighting each other. This is an example of Necrons, which are basically robots. They're actually not robots. I guess that's a very simplified term. But they came from a planet that was greeted by different type of gods, and those gods granted them the ability to change their human form into what you see here, which is an eternal being. I mean, they live pretty much indefinitely unless they run out of energy, more or less. So you have those. So this is the main. This is the main. Hold on, where's my stuff? I'm going too far. I don't know how to go back. Oh, I guess the back button would be good. All right, so this is the main crux of the historical situation. Okay, this is from the 1500s. This is a copy, a paper copy of a woodcut image that someone did from Nuremberg, Germany in the 1500s. You can look this up online right now. Allegedly, this is what they saw in the skies. And again, if you time the architecture, you see the architecture down here, the type of still Gothic style, big buildings, arches, stuff like that. That is the architecture we see in a lot of the cities in Warhammer 40K. So again, bear with me. So you have all these ships and things up here that are supposedly fighting in the air. And to me, this is the battle that we lost. And I can even point out to you whose ships are whose. So we're going to zoom in here, I think, on the next picture. And you'll see these crossed ships right here. Look like with a ball on each end, but it looks like a cross. You see a cross here. You see this is probably something being shot, but spheres and crosses. And then this large black, what was described as a large black spear shape. Okay? Again, this is 1500s. Here we have what's called the Tau. The Tau are another group of humanoid Xenos who fight for the general good of all, but that means, if your planet is not good for the all, then you get destroyed, kind of stuff. So we look at their fleets and their type of ship. What do we see here? Crosses with dots at each end. We have spheres, spheres. And again, the crosses, and it's so ironic that the crosses with dots at each end. Okay, so you have class escorts. But again, you have all this stuff, and then we'll go back, crosses, spheres, and then what? Again, this large black spear. Okay, now imagine you're on the ground and you look up from the ground and you see this. Obviously, it's a really horrible picture of it, but this is an example of an imperial ship, or imperial battleship, imperial cruiser, whatever you want to say, for the imperial of man. Okay, now from the ground, from beneath, you can imagine if you were looking up at this, it would appear as a large black spear in the sky above you. Okay, so imagine you're seeing a battle with fears, crosses, all shooting at each other, and then this thing is up there as well. But it's the only ship of this make in the photo or in the woodcut, whatever it is. So that leads me to believe that either we were the aggressors and the Tau, which ironically are blue, and if you look at certain religions and other cultures from around the world, you hear things about blue beings. Even the more recent New Age people like that are on Gaia TV and stuff talk about blue avians, blue people from the sky. I mean, what was it? Not Krishna. I'm gonna sound like a very uneducated person, but the one from Hindu culture that is blue. Uh, Frost giants from Norse culture. Um, Very powerful blue beings. Loki is said to be half frost giant, I believe. So again, we have blue in that, and he's known to be a god-like being. And in the Warhammer 40K universe, like the Space Marines and stuff, they can live for an extended hundreds of years and stuff like that. They're also again very tall. And what do we have in our ancient history that we know of? We have people like Hercules and demigods and strange creatures that used to live before the flood. All of that, we already have that. So again, who's referencing who? Are our ancient ancestors referencing events like this that took place, or are these writers, which obviously is the much more likely thing, referencing something else? So, okay, let's move on. These are what's called Tyranids on your right. These are the lizard men, which are from Warhammer Fantasy, which is a more medieval themed version. And again, are they referencing, the lizard men have a Mayan esque culture, Mayan and Aztec, so South American jungle culture. Tyranids have a very similar bone structure to what we see in some dinosaurs. And obviously, lizardmen are actual dinosaurs. So, are the fossils part of these? Could the fossils be lizardmen that came even before, uh, you know, the regular 40K? Who knows? That I find to be probably much more unlikely. But I think it's kind of funny that we don't know where all these people went from South America, but we have bones and things like that from around the world. So that was just kind of a funny one to add in there. And now let's talk about the gods of the 40K universe. So there's a few. This one's my favorite. He's called Nurgle. He's a god of death and pestilence and uh, gluttony and sloth and all that. Now he's my favorite just because he loves you no matter what, and that's something I heard that I always thought was funny. He loves you no matter what, and if you're just disgusting and just bedridden or pox, whatever you have, he's gonna love you anyway. Just come join him and join the blah mob, I guess you could say. But that's Nurgle. Okay, there's I don't want to sound. There's quite a few different gods for different people, different races and stuff. So I'm just gonna go over a few. This is Nargle, a is it Sumerian or Mesopotamian? An old god of ancient history in air quotes. And this is a god of guess what? Death and pestilence and stuff like that. And it's Nargle and Nurgle. See who's referencing who? This is Slanesh over on the right, god of excess and sex and torture and all kinds of just wild things. And then over here on the left is, a representation of Korn, who is anger and, but also bravery and passion and things of that nature. So you can see if we are as a country and as a human race, sorry, let me get a water break real quick. Been talking for a few minutes. Anyway, you can clearly see if you look at society in an unbiased way. Do we live under a holy, glorious God life and a good structure, or are we under the sway of beings like this? Excess, sex, depravity, um, anger, hate, pestilence, death. Who are we under the influence of? It certainly sounds, if you look at a overall unbiased view of society, it seems more like these people. So I'm just saying. But anyway, we've probably been going for 40 minutes or so. I think that's probably a good place to end it for today, at least. There is so much more to get into. I'll probably have to do. I'll probably do a second episode. Maybe try to find some more photos and try to find some more interesting facts that I can tie in. But let me know down in the comments what you think. Let me know your opinion on this and whether it's worth us, more of a research, more of a rabbit hole, if you will. Again, I think it's just so incredible what the authors have done in the lore of Warhammer. I mean, I know it's been around for a while, and okay, you have plenty of time to write and figure things out. But again, there's never been a series like this. Like you look at Harry Potter and all the lore and the world building and the things of that nature, or the Lord of the Rings. Oh man, what have we got? 9 books, something of that nature. Wow, world building. And one series of Warhammer 40k is 60 plus books, all of them an inch or two thick. It doesn't even compare to other things. If you haven't listened to it or haven't looked into the lore, there's videos all over YouTube. Um, you can learn about the different legions and their belief systems and just different alien races. There's a series of books on the Necrons, which are incredibly interesting. So again, I definitely encourage you to look into it. Comment down below what you think of what I've found. Not a whole lot of evidence, really just a lot of speculation, and that image from the 1500s in Germany with the sky battle. But again, if you look at and you listen to a lot of ancient history, like ancient aliens and biblical history, religious history, it all talks about people that have come before us or people that have come here to teach us. And when you look at Warhammer 40k in planets that are separated from the Imperium, that's literally what happens. They land, they say, hey, guess what? Here's what's been happening the whole time. You're actually part of us. We either made you or we helped you start, and welcome back. That's literally what happens. So, again, it's probably nothing. But look into it, and thank you for listening. Thank you for watching along here. We are going to do more lighthearted pieces. I definitely want to stick to paranormal, conspiracy, cryptids, that kind of thing. But over the last couple seasons of the podcast, we really just got into too much political stuff. And again, I don't want my videos taken down. I don't like the fact that I can't talk about much. So we may be looking to do other things in the future as far as different websites and things, because it really does hinder us. And I really do care about, Last Wave and what we do here. And I want us to have some moral integrity. So I'm not going to shy away from certain things, but I definitely know that there are a few topics that we can't talk about. So we're going to try to keep it more lighthearted or more on topic and not so much political stuff or, world news. There's people out there that are already doing that. Let them do that. When you come here, this needs to be a place you come to chill and to hang out and to discuss. Not argue, not worry, not concern yourself. There's enough of that. So I think for this season, I really want to make it just a chill place for you to come, spend an hour, spend 30 minutes or whatever, and maybe learn something, maybe talk about stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what we have in store for the season. Either way, thank you for listening today, And as always, I sincerely appreciate you. And if this audio isn't the best, we're going to try to do my next episode. So we're trying to do better every season and trying to give you the best product we can. Check out some of our other stuff. Look us up on Facebook. We're on TikTok, X as well, formerly Twitter. But check us out. Thank you for listening. Again, we love you. You are a valuable individual, and the world needs you. So keep your head up, keep your chin up. It can't rain all the time. Catch you on the next episode.